Welcome to One Day Contract, the Panthers talk show where each week we're joined by a new personality who we've signed to a one-day contract to join the show. One Day Contract is a proud part of the Riot Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Signed to the one-day contract this week, Kyle Bailey, co-host of Garcia and Bailey, Panthers Pregame and Hornets Postgame on WFNZ, pickup truck owner, fringe acquaintance of Muhsin Muhammad. So let's move to left tackle. Matt Khalil had his procedure on Monday. My favorite name to say. Is it too soon for Moton?
Yes, absolutely. You got it. Taylor Moton.
I used to work with a Taylor Moton, so I just cannot say his name now correctly.
I think that we are putting a lot of stake into and a lot of stock into Taylor Moton and how good we assume he's going to be. We've all said, man, I trust Moton. I mean, how many times on Twitter and Facebook and the internet in general did you read, with Khalil gone, now we can finally have Moton playing left tackle? And this guy has never taken a snap in the NFL. I mean, that's not true. He took some jumbo snaps, but let's let him get out there and play against real defensive ends before we start, fitting this guy for a gold jacket.
This injury hurts, and you hate it because this was Matt Khalil had put his chest out there and said, I'm healthy for the first time after the hip. I feel like I'm good. And now we don't even get through the preseason. And bam, I'm not saying another excuse, but another reason why maybe he doesn't play up to snuff or what we expect out of a left tackle making the money he is.
Look, I understand the concern. I do. But I also thought when they drafted him last year, I thought they drafted their left tackle of the future. I mean, I really did. And that's and some of that just comes from talking to guys who coach that position. But, physically, athletically, that guy is built to be a left tackle. I mean, he's well distributed. He's athletic. He's strong. He's intelligent. I mean, you've got to be intelligent to play along the offensive line in the NFL anyway. And I think there's probably going to be an acclimation period where, you move from the right side to the left side, and all the jumping around that he's done, that certainly will have an effect. But we all want to get Matt Khalil back healthy, right? We all want to see Amini Silatolu come back healthy, and Darrell Williams too. But I think Taylor Moton is really good.
It seems to me almost that you guys are putting him in kind of the C.J. Anderson category, where it's like, look, we know what you can do. I'm not worried about seeing you run behind left guard. I know what you can do, and they're focused on figuring out what the young guys can do, and Anderson and Searles are almost kind of, I think, givens from a coaching standpoint. Is that kind of the way you guys kind of read it?
That makes sense to me. That's actually a really smart way to put it, because
okay.
I do think that the coaches are like,
yeah.
I'll say it right down the camera. Colin said something smart once.
One time.
Yeah.
I will write down the time.
Yeah, mark it down.
Really doing it.
Yeah, nothing makes me happier than when like a preseason guy like Cameron Artis-Payne scores a touchdown, or like a third Elijah Hood scores a touchdown, and Cam like runs over to him, isn't on the field, runs over to him, and is like, "You have to give this ball to someone." And it's like, you can't hear it obviously, but you can hear see him pointing, putting his arm around the guy. This is your time.
Yep.
And it's like it's like heartwarming. Like I have goosebumps just thinking about it.
I love it. And look, I say this all the time. I'm going to be very honest about this. I'm a college football guy. I love college football, right? But part of the reason that I love being around the Panthers so much is it does have kind of a collegiate feel to it, where it feels like there's more attachment to the fans and the kids in the stadium. Like, I don't think I would have very much fun covering the New York Giants. I don't. That's just me personally. I realize it's just one man's opinion, but I like covering this team and being around this team because it's a very collegiate feel to how this team is supported, and that's one of those small things that contributes to that. And I love that about this organization.
I mean, but in 5 years, there are a lot of statues available. There's TD, there's Pep, there's Charles Johnson, there's Smitty, because he's going to come back at some point to the team. It's a foregone conclusion.
He wants to be courted. By the way, where can people hear Smitty this football season?
5 o'clock with us on Wednesdays. We were actually we're stoked about that.
That's cool.
The cool thing about Smitty too is, and I think y'all know this, is that we've had a relationship with him at FNZ. Colin, for a while now. He's been on and off, but he and Frank are tight, and he listens to the station when he's in Charlotte pretty much every day. He will tell you that occasionally, then he'll turn around and say, "I don't listen to that crap." But no, he listens. He listens all the time, and so if we say something off color, if we say something that gets under his skin, we'll hear the phone blow up, and we'll get a text. And, it was so cool that we reached out and said, Smitty, we got to get you back. We need you back talking about this team and about the NFL. And not only did he want to do it, he didn't want to be paid for it. He just wanted to talk about his foundation stuff occasionally. And I know his feelings were hurt when he left, and I understand why. And I think it's going to take probably a little more time, but there will come a day when all is right in the world with respect to that. And I think a lot of Panthers fans are looking forward to that.
Who's going to play well this week?
Yeah,
I think it's
like
the
a nice
rookies.
guy too.
Don't you? Yeah, I know, right? The rookies on the defensive side. That's the one that jumps out to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Rashawn Golden is one of the safeties of the future on this team. And, when he came out of the draft, everybody here knows that, his measurables weren't great. I think he bench pressed 225 like 8 times, which is kind of unthinkable. And, 40 speed wasn't anything to write home about, but you turned on the film and, man, he just plays ball. But he's a rookie, and this is the big test. Him and Dante Jackson, I think, on Friday night. When you don't get a bigger test in week 3 of the preseason than Brady Belichick. And if you can hold up on Friday against that offense, and you can show Ron Rivera and Eric Washington some things, I think they're going to feel really comfortable with those two. Because Dante Jackson, I don't know how y'all feel, but I want to see that kid lining up opposite of Bradbury. In week 1, I hope that's the way that looks, and I hope it's because he and Golden have proven they're ready for that.
Yeah.
I'm getting a Dante Jackson jersey.
Ooh,
I want it.
That's
size?
a smart buy. I think.
want it.
I actually am in favor of a Dante Jackson statue, so I think it's time. He's put in the work.
Shocking.
Let's light it up there.
Real quick, everyone, tell us your favorite Charles Johnson memory.
My personal favorite is not a football memory, but
Mine isn't either.
Yeah, it was at the Cam Newton kickball tournament. And it was not this year, but 2 years ago when he was still playing, and he literally was out there playing kickball with his little. Everybody's seen his son is like 3 years old, little CJ, and he was playing kickball with this kid, and it's like heartwarming to watch him interact with this huge dude just being the sweetest guy in the world with this tiny little man kicking the ball to him and he caught it and pretended to find. It's dad stuff, but it's that to me is who Charles Johnson is in a nutshell, because you see him and he's so big and you're like, this guy is going to be huge and is going to murder me. And then he's like, hey, how's it going, Charles Johnson? No, he's such a nice guy that you just don't expect
Charles's
that.
voice.
I'm not good at impressions, so I didn't even try. I just took it down one notch so it would sound a little bit more like a man than I do. But
and I think back to the 2013 season, week 1, the Panthers open against the hated Seattle Seahawks. And he just destroyed Russell Wilson right before halftime. Just a clean hit, one of those ones that they dream about. And a forced fumble, Panthers take over, and they were on the 12-yard line. That was peak CJ for me.
I actually am getting so old I had to look at the year. It's actually not even a Panthers memory. It was 2006. It was the year that Georgia was just fantastic.
The year that everybody made David Pollock look good.
That's exactly right. That's the one. 2006. That was an all-SEC year, by the way, for Charles. And I want to say, what was it? It was either Tennessee or Florida, where he had just an incredible game. It was a 3.5 sack game, I think. And
he got Tebow multiple times.
He did. And I remember that night I was sitting in my living room with my roommates, and we're just in awe of this guy. But he's just a monster out there. And then, I didn't really pay much attention to Charles after that. I obviously knew of him. But the coolest thing about Charles, and we talked about this earlier today, is that, and Frank brought up a good point. He said, everybody right now is complaining about how much money Matt Khalil makes, or how much. Nobody's ever complained about how much money Charles made. He never put the fans in a position to have to complain about him not doing his job well enough to justify his paycheck. And on top of that, being such a great ambassador for the team and the community, and the way that he, handles kids. Some of what you're alluding to right now. That's a guy that's just so easy to root for.
So mine has literally nothing to do with football. CJ always has a massive birthday party every year. Republic.
This is a humble brag.
Mickey
humble brag.
No, the best story to ever come out of it was at Republic for one of his birthday parties. D'Angelo Williams had, I believe it was his brother, was at the front door and couldn't get in because there were so many people. So the GM of the club led D'Angelo through this massive crowd. It was like one in, one out. Took him to the door. They got his brother. They brought him all the way back up. And the GM just turns, takes his hat off. It's my friend Brandon. He shakes D'Angelo's hand and goes, "It was a pleasure blocking for you, sir." And then he just walked off. And it was so awesome. I was like, that's a cool moment.